The richest black wife in the Bahamas. She secretly owns the country. What if I told you the real power in the Bahamas isn't in Parliament or even in the Prime Minister's office? Behind the luxury resorts and political speeches lies a network of black women whose names alone can shift economies, control industries, and protect dynasties. These wives and leaders don't just influence decisions, they quietly own the country's future. Their wealth, respect, and legacy stretch far beyond headlines, and their reach is almost untouchable. Are you ready to discover who truly holds the crown? Stay with us. Legends of Black Excellence starts now. Dame Marguerite Pindling. In the story of the Bahamas, few names carry as much weight as Dame Marguerite Pindling. Known affectionately to many as the mother of the nation, she was more than just the wife of Sir Lynden Pindling, the first Prime Minister and father of the nation. Her journey from a young woman navigating the challenges of Bahamian society to becoming one of its most enduring symbols of grace and influence is proof that true power doesn't always sit in Parliament. It often lives in the legacy of those who quietly but firmly guide history. Born on June 26, 1932 in Long Bay, Cays South, Andros Marguerite grew up in humble surroundings before marrying Lynden in 1956. From that moment on, her life became intertwined with the destiny of the Bahamas. As Sir Lynden rose to power and led the nation through independence in 1973, she stood at his side not as a silent partner, but as a steady presence who embodied dignity, discipline, and resilience. Her crowning achievement came decades later when she was appointed the 10th Governor-General of the Bahamas in 2014, representing the British monarch at home. This was more than a ceremonial role. It was a powerful statement that the Pindling dynasty still defined Bahamian identity long after Sir Lynden's passing. She served until 2019, cementing her status as both a national and international figure. Throughout her public life, Dame Marguerite maintained a careful balance. She exuded regal elegance at state functions, yet remained accessible to everyday Bahamians. Insiders describe her as sharp and formidable beneath her warm smile, a woman who could hold her own in political circles without ever needing to raise her voice. Her influence was subtle but undeniable. Her endorsement or disapproval could shape how politicians, diplomats, and business leaders position themselves. Even her wealth and social standing are unique. While she never flaunted luxury in the way celebrities might, her assets, properties, and most importantly, her family's enduring reputation keep her firmly among the most powerful women in the Caribbean. In a nation where legacy often dictates status, Marguerite Pindling's name alone is enough to open doors across politics, business, and culture. But here's the question. Many still whisper, is her greatest wealth the fortune she holds, or the unmatched influence her name commands? What do you think? Does legacy outweigh money when it comes to real power? Dame Marguerite represents continuity. She is a living bridge between the Bahamas' struggle for independence, the golden age of Sir Lynden's leadership, and the modern challenges of the 21st century. Her story is not one of loud proclamations, but of steady guidance, proof that even when the spotlight dims, certain names only grow stronger. In many ways, she doesn't just live in the Bahamas' history, she is its history. And that is why when people talk about the richest black wife in the Bahamas, they often say, Dame Marguerite Pindling doesn't simply stand beside power, she has long been part of the nation's soul. Rexy role. When people in the Bahamas board a plane, there is a good chance they are stepping into the empire built by Rexy role. As president and CEO of Western Air, the nation's largest privately owned airline, she has transformed an ambitious family business into a multi-million-dollar powerhouse that controls one of the most important resources in an island nation: mobility. In a country where the sea separates everyday life across dozens of islands, controlling the skies means holding a key to both the economy and political influence. Rexy's story began long before she ever wore a CEO's title. Her parents founded Western Air in 2001, and she grew up in the hangars, absorbing both the challenges and the potential of aviation. While her father, Captain Rex's role focused on flying, she gradually became the operational brain of the company. By the time she was in her 30s, she wasn't just involved, she was leading managing fleets, overseeing expansion, and setting a standard of reliability in an industry known for unpredictability. Under her leadership, Western Air expanded its hubs in Freeport and Nassau, connecting thousands of passengers daily, and positioning itself as the airline of choice for Bahamians and visitors alike. That kind of control over domestic travel gave her more than just financial success, it gave her strategic leverage. Politicians, business leaders, and even government agencies rely on her airline, ensuring her voice carries weight in rooms where national decisions are made. But Rexy is not just a businesswoman. She is also a lawyer trained in the United States with a sharp understanding of contracts, regulations, and corporate law. This legal expertise allows her to navigate the complex world of aviation with precision, turning obstacles into opportunities. Unlike many who inherit business empires, she has built her credibility on discipline and performance, rather than privilege. Rexy's influence extends beyond boardrooms and runways. She has become a visible role model for young Bahamian women, proving that ambition in male-dominated industries can pay off. Her interviews often highlight her philosophy that consistency, discipline, and excellence matter more than being underestimated. She projects confidence but also relatability, balancing family responsibilities with corporate leadership. Financially, Western Air is valued in the tens of millions with growth potential tied directly to tourism, an industry that contributes nearly 50% of the Bahamas' GDP. By controlling such a vital link, Rexy's role doesn't just serve the nation. She positions herself as one of its quiet power brokers. She embodies a new face of Bahamian wealth, young, visible, and unapologetically ambitious. While others cling to political dynasties or inherited legacies, Shirexia Rexy Role built her throne on the tarmac, proving that the skies themselves can be owned. Sharon R. Wilson. In Bahamian high society, some names speak louder than headlines. Sharon R. Wilson, often addressed as Lady Wilson, is one of them. While her husband, Sir Franklin Wilson, is recognized as one of the nation's most successful businessmen through his leadership of Sunshine Holdings, Sharon has carved her own space as a respected attorney and political figure. Her combination of intellect, composure, and network makes her one of the most influential women in the Bahamas, proof that power is not always loud, but can be deeply decisive. Sharon's professional journey began in law, where she built a reputation as meticulous and fair-minded. Her career quickly advanced into the public sphere, culminating in her appointment as president of the Senate of the Bahamas, a role she held twice. This position placed her at the center of national policy debates, giving her direct authority in shaping the country's legislative process. Unlike many political spouses, her influence was not borrowed from her husband. It was earned through her own accomplishments and command of procedure. At the same time, her marriage to Sir Franklin linked her to one of the most formidable family empires in the Caribbean. Sunshine Holdings reaches into finance, energy, real estate, and food distribution, touching nearly every sector of the Bahamian economy. Sharon's presence within this powerful household gave her an additional layer of authority. Insiders often remark that she brings balance to Franklin's ambitious business moves, reminding him that reputation and legacy matter just as much as profit margins. But her power doesn't stop at politics or business. Sharon has also played a significant role in philanthropy and civic life. She is frequently involved in cultural institutions, educational programs, and charitable causes that reflect her long-standing belief in nation-building. Her leadership style has been described as refined yet firm, never showy, but always respected. Sharon's influence is magnified by her ability to navigate multiple worlds. She can preside over Senate debates one day, attend a corporate function the next, and host cultural gatherings that bring together the country's elite. This adaptability makes her a bridge between politics, business, and society. In a small nation where connections often decide outcomes, her network is one of her greatest assets. Financially, the Wilson family is considered among the wealthiest in the Bahamas. Sunshine Holdings alone has generated millions through its subsidiaries, and with Sharon's legal acumen combined with Franklin's business vision, the couple represents one of the most secure and influential alliances in the Caribbean. Sharon R. Wilson's story proves that power in the Bahamas is not always about who stands at the podium. Sometimes it belongs to the woman who can walk into any room, political, corporate, or social, and command respect without raising her voice. Allison Maynard Gibson. In the Bahamas, some women inherit legacy but redefine it with their own brilliance. Allison Maynard Gibson is one such figure. The daughter of Sir Clement Maynard, a towering statesman in Bahamian history, she grew up immersed in politics, but her rise to influence was not handed to her. It was earned through intellect, resilience, and a sharp sense of justice. Her story is one where law, politics, and luxury collide to form one of the most powerful households in the Caribbean. Allison's reputation was built in the courts. As a lawyer, she developed a keen eye for reform, tackling the clogged judicial system that left many Bahamians without timely access to justice. Her appointment as Attorney General of the Bahamas marked a turning point. She pushed for modernization, efficiency, and transparency, determined to restore public trust in the legal system. Her voice carried both authority and clarity, often silencing critics who underestimated her resolve. But Allison is more than just a political figure. She represents the blending of political power and economic strength. Her marriage to Maxwell Gibson, a businessman deeply tied to the jewelry and luxury retail sector, created a household where influence flows through both government and commerce. The couple's connection to the Colombian emerald trade and high-end luxury markets positioned them at the crossroads of tourism and wealth. In a country where nearly 50% of GDP depends on tourism, this kind of reach is no small matter. It's monumental. What makes Allison unique is her ability to balance these dual worlds. In Parliament, she is remembered as tough and unyielding, a champion of reforms that many others shied away from. In society, she is poised and connected, moving seamlessly among elites, entrepreneurs, and cultural leaders. Her life reflects the fact that in the Bahamas, true power often comes from being able to stand in both the courtroom and the ballroom with equal grace. Here's something to think about. Do you believe it's more powerful to change laws that affect a nation or to control industries that fuel its economy? Allison Maynard Gibson sits at the intersection of both. She has also been an outspoken advocate for women's leadership, encouraging more women to step into politics, law, and business. Her career reflects her belief that women should not simply be supportive figures, they should be central voices in shaping policy and society. This philosophy has made her a role model for a new generation of Bahamian professionals. Her wealth, while not always publicly displayed, is reflected in her household's combined influence, political clout, luxury markets, and enduring family legacy. Few couples can claim such reach, and fewer still manage it with the restraint and discipline she has shown throughout her career. Allison Maynard Gibson represents a new kind of Bahamian authority, unapologetically intelligent, strategically connected, and firmly established in both national governance and international business. She is proof that the richest women in the Bahamas don't just inherit influence, they expand it, leaving legacies that stretch far beyond their own lifetimes. Dame Cynthia Pratt. If there is one figure in Bahamian history who embodies resilience, compassion, and unshakable loyalty to her people, it is Dame Cynthia Mother Pratt. Unlike many women of influence in the Bahamas, whose power stems from marriage into political dynasties or ties to business empires, Cynthia Pratt's authority was built through service, sacrifice, and sheer determination. Her rise from the inner-city communities of Nassau to the highest ceremonial office in the land, Governor General of the Bahamas, is nothing short of remarkable. Born in 1945, Cynthia Pratt grew up in conditions that shaped her empathy for the struggles of ordinary Bahamians. Before entering politics, she worked as a nurse teacher and community worker, tending not only to physical wounds but also to the social wounds left by poverty, neglect, and inequality. Her reputation as a caregiver and mentor made her a beloved figure long before she ever stepped into Parliament. When she entered politics under the Progressive Liberal Party (PLP), she carried that same grassroots energy with her. She quickly earned recognition as a voice for the voiceless, an advocate for those society too often overlooked. Her rise was swift. She became Deputy Prime Minister, one of the most powerful political roles in the country, and later in 2023 was appointed Governor General, the official representative of King Charles III in the Bahamas. But her true influence lies not in the titles she held, but in the trust she commanded. Bahamians across political divides saw her not as a distant authority figure, but as Mother, a nickname that reflected her deep personal connection with the public. Unlike others who flaunted wealth, Cynthia measured her riches in loyalty and respect, currencies far more enduring than money. Do you think real influence comes from financial power, or from the kind of respect that makes people follow you even without riches? Her leadership style was never loud or confrontational, but it carried weight. Insiders have said that when Cynthia Pratt spoke in political meetings, ministers and MPs paid attention even more so than when louder voices dominated the room. Her ability to cut through noise with calm authority made her indispensable in navigating political storms. As Governor General, her presence symbolized unity. She represented the monarchy abroad, but at home, she represented the Bahamian people themselves, a bridge between ordinary citizens and the highest levels of state. Even in that regal position, she never abandoned her grassroots roots, often reminding audiences that leadership was about service, not self-interest. Cynthia Pratt's legacy is rare in Caribbean politics, a leader who rose without scandal, who maintained respect across party lines, and who is remembered not for wealth or dynasty, but for integrity. She is proof that the richest form of power is not always counted in dollars or assets, it is counted in trust. For Bahamians, Dame Cynthia Mother Pratt remains the embodiment of a truth the world often forgets. Sometimes the most powerful title is not Prime Minister or Governor General, it is simply Mother. Anne Marie Davis. Anne Marie Davis, wife of Prime Minister Philip Brave. Davis has proven that the role of First Lady in the Bahamas no longer means standing silently beside her husband. Instead, she has turned it into a platform of her own, using her visibility to champion some of the country's most pressing issues: domestic violence, child protection, gender equality, and youth empowerment. In a nation where optics matter just as much as policies, Anne Marie has built a persona that is impossible to ignore. Unlike many political spouses who operate quietly in the background, Anne Marie Davis is vocal, confident, and direct. From the moment her husband assumed office, she established her own presence by setting up an office within the ministry of the Prime Minister, signaling that she would not limit herself to ceremonial duties. This was a bold step that instantly redefined expectations of what a Bahamian First Lady could be. She has since become known for her unflinching speeches. At conferences, summits, and community gatherings, Anne Marie does not shy away from uncomfortable truths. Whether addressing the rise of gender-based violence or the struggles of underprivileged youth, her words are charged with urgency. Supporters applaud her courage, calling her a new kind of Caribbean First Lady, one who is central to shaping national dialogue rather than simply observing it. Critics, however, argue that she sometimes relishes the spotlight too much. But even her detractors admit that her influence is real, and that her ability to command attention makes her a force in Bahamian politics. Her style is another dimension of her power. Anne Marie Davis exudes confidence at gala state dinners and international events, often drawing as much attention as elected officials themselves. She understands the role of image in politics and uses it strategically, blending glamour with advocacy to make sure her causes remain visible. Behind her public persona lies a carefully calculated strategy. Anne Marie knows that influence is not just about wealth or marriage. It's about controlling narratives. By aligning herself with progressive movements and social reform, she ensures that her name will be remembered not only as the spouse of a prime minister, but as a woman who actively shaped Bahamian society. Her impact extends beyond speeches. She has backed community programs that focus on protecting children, empowering women, and strengthening family life. Each initiative reinforces her vision of a Bahamas where progress is not only measured in economic growth, but also in the dignity and safety of its citizens. Anne-Marie Davis represents a new chapter for Bahamian leadership. She is bold, unapologetic, and unafraid to step into the political arena with her own agenda. Whether praised or criticized, one fact remains: she has changed the way Bahamians see the role of First Lady forever. Cecilia Cooper. In the Bahamas, where politics and tourism intertwine at every level of national life, Cecilia Cooper has emerged as one of the most quietly influential women in the country. Married to Chester Cooper, the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism, Investments, and Aviation, Cecilia is more than a political spouse. She is a polished force whose presence ensures that the family's influence feels both grounded and untouchable. Those who know her describe Cecilia as calm, deliberate, and strategically social. She does not dominate headlines or seek the spotlight. Instead, her strength lies in her ability to move gracefully through the nation's most exclusive gatherings, state functions, galas, and business meetings while leaving behind the impression of stability and refinement. In a society where optics are often as important as policies, Cecilia has mastered the art of presence. Her influence is amplified by her connection to Chester's vast business and political networks. Before entering government, Chester Cooper had built a strong reputation in finance, insurance, and investments. Cecilia has stood firmly at the intersection of these industries, ensuring that her family's power base is both broad and secure. She is often described as the balancer, the person who reminds her husband that every policy has real consequences for ordinary Bahamians, while also maintaining ties with the elite circles that shape the national agenda. Her position is uniquely symbolic. Tourism contributes nearly 50% of the Bahamas' GDP, and as the Deputy Prime Minister's spouse, Cecilia sits at the epicenter of the country's most vital industry. Every appearance she makes, every handshake she gives at a hotel opening or airline event reverberates across an economy that depends on how outsiders perceive the Bahamas. Despite her access to immense wealth and privilege, Cecilia has often emphasized her work ethic. She has spoken candidly about her 2 decades of consistent employment, rejecting the label of woman of leisure. This humility resonates with everyday Bahamians who see in her a reflection of grounded values despite her elevated social standing. Her power is not expressed in flamboyant displays of wealth. Instead, it is the subtle kind that whispers in boardrooms, glides across red carpets, and shapes decisions in ways outsiders rarely notice. In a small island nation, reputation travels fast, and Cecilia's reputation is one of poise, discretion, and trustworthiness. Cecilia Cooper's story demonstrates that power in the Bahamas does not always come from fiery speeches or elected office. Sometimes it rests in the quiet yet firm presence of someone who knows when to speak, when to listen, and how to position herself at the crossroads of politics, business, and tourism. She is the velvet glove over the hand of power, a reminder that influence often works best when it doesn't need to shout. Bernadette Hannah Christie. For decades, Bahamian politics has been shaped not only by the men who took the floor of Parliament, but also by the women who stood beside them. Among the most formidable of these women is Bernadette Hannah Christie, wife of former Prime Minister Perry Christie. While her husband spent years navigating the intensity of party battles, Bernadette quietly established herself as a force in her own right, blending the sharpness of her legal career with the resilience needed to thrive inside one of the nation's most prominent political households. Bernadette is a respected attorney known for her precision and fierce intellect. Legal colleagues describe her as detail-oriented, strategic, and unafraid to confront issues head-on. This background gave her a unique advantage as First Lady because she understood not just the performance of politics, but the machinery behind it. While Perry Christie debated in Parliament, Bernadette's legal perspective often made her a silent strategist, someone who could dissect how laws were framed and anticipate how decisions would resonate beyond the chamber walls. Her influence extended beyond legal circles. As First Lady, Bernadette took an active role in cultural and civic life. She was a constant presence at national festivals, community events, and charity gatherings. Unlike spouses who remained in the shadows, Bernadette presented herself as both approachable and authoritative, reinforcing the image of the Christies as a household deeply connected to Bahamian identity. But her power wasn't simply ceremonial. Insiders often whispered that Perry Christie leaned heavily on his wife's counsel, not only for private family matters but also in navigating the ruthless game of political alliances. Her ability to temper tempers, sharpen strategy, and read people made her an invaluable advisor. The Christies were also known for their lifestyle, which reflected their place among the Bahamian elite. While never ostentatious, their wealth and social standing were visible markers of success, symbolizing the circles they moved in. Bernadette herself carried that balance, well-refined but never flamboyant, serious but never inaccessible. Her story reveals how power in the Bahamas often operates. It isn't just about public speeches or policies. It's about the reputations and networks built quietly over years of consistency. Bernadette Hannah Christie exemplifies this truth. She didn't need headlines to leave her mark. Her influence was felt in the way decisions were made, alliances formed, and legacies preserved. As time passes, her name continues to carry weight in conversations about Bahamian leadership. She represents a class of women who combined professional excellence with political presence, shaping the nation's course, while ensuring their family's place in history. For Bernadette Hannah Christie, power was never about spectacle. It was about strategy, stability, and the enduring strength of being the mind behind the throne. Patricia Minnis. In the Bahamas, the role of First Lady has often been a balancing act, bridging political authority with social connection. Patricia Minnis, wife of former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis, mastered that balance by presenting herself as both relatable to ordinary citizens and influential within elite circles. With her background as a nurse and high school teacher, Patricia brought compassion and practicality into the national conversation, ensuring her presence carried substance beyond ceremonial appearances. During Hubert Minnis's time in office, Patricia became a visible advocate for health, women's empowerment, and social welfare. She leaned on her professional experience in medicine and education to push for better healthcare access and youth development. While she never sought the spotlight in the way some political spouses do, her work was evident in hospitals, schools, and community programs that touched everyday lives. What truly set her apart was her approachability. Bahamians often saw her at church services, community events, and neighborhood gatherings without the heavy formality that usually surrounds political families. She projected warmth, relatability, and authenticity, offering a softer edge to her husband's often firm political persona. Yet Patricia was far from passive. Insiders recall that she frequently offered candid opinions on party direction and government strategy. In a country where whispers travel fast, her words carried weight, influencing how decisions were framed and perceived. Her influence was subtle but undeniable. She shaped not only her husband's public image, but also the confidence of those who worked alongside him. Patricia Minnis's wealth was never flaunted. She didn't need luxury displays to prove her standing. Her power came from credibility, respect, and the trust she built across communities. For many Bahamians, she represented the possibility of leadership that was grounded, accessible, and quietly effective. Her legacy is one of influence without extravagance, a reminder that true authority can sometimes whisper louder than it shouts. Dolores Ingraham. Long before power couples became a global fascination, Dolores Ingraham, wife of former Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham, exemplified what it meant to be the steady backbone of leadership. While her husband served 3 terms as Prime Minister, shaping privatization, infrastructure, and international policy in the 1990s and 2000s, Dolores was the disciplined force that kept the machinery running behind the scenes. Her professional life was rooted in education, where she earned respect as firm, meticulous, and deeply committed to the development of young Bahamians. This background gave her both credibility and influence as she quietly guided initiatives that strengthened communities while her husband debated in Parliament. Political insiders often joked, You couldn't reach Hubert without going through Dolores. Whether you were a diplomat party loyalist or family friend, her approval was the gateway to the Prime Minister's ear. She wasn't loud or flashy. Instead, she represented the quiet authority that safeguarded her husband's public image while anchoring their family life with order and discipline. Her presence extended beyond the home. She organized community programs, maintained networks of support, and ensured that the Ingraham household reflected integrity. Unlike spouses who courted luxury or spectacle, Dolores avoided extravagance. Yet her reputation carried weight that outlasted Hubert's time in office. Even after his departure from politics, her name remained respected in elite Bahamian circles. Dolores Ingraham never needed the microphone. Her wealth and assets, while kept private, were secondary to the respect she commanded. She represents the disciplined strategic side of Bahamian political life, the kind of influence that doesn't fade when campaigns end. To understand the story of modern Bahamian leadership, one cannot ignore the hand of Dolores Ingraham, the silent strategist whose fingerprints remain on a generation of national progress. Power in the Bahamas has never been limited to prime ministers or political dynasties. Behind the scenes, women like Dame Marguerite Pindling, Shirexia, Rexy Roll, Sharon Wilson, Allison, Maynard Gibson, Dame Cynthia Pratt, Anne-Marie Davis, Cecilia Cooper, Bernadette Hannah Christie, Patricia Minnis, and Dolores Ingraham have quietly built legacies that rival official titles. Some shaped law, others controlled aviation business or tourism, while others preserved dynasties that still define the nation's identity. Their influence proves that wealth is not just money, it is reputation, access, and legacy. But here's the question: do these women merely stand beside power, or do they secretly own the Bahamas itself?